Oblivion is pretty notorious for its dumb NPCs, whether they're walking into walls, stealing forks, or having ridiculous conversations.
How are you?
Not bad.
Stop talking.
Hello.
You can't be too careful.
But some characters are dumbed down to their very core, without the need of barely functioning AI to help them. And it's those heroes that we're gonna highlight today. So here are the 5 dumbest characters in Oblivion. Norbert doesn't really deserve to be on this list, not because he's not dumb. He is dumb. Oh lord, is he dumb. But he's dumb in that endearing kind of way that just makes you want to give him a hug, which is also why he's not higher on the list. Most players' introduction to the man is through the Fighters Guild, but before even meeting him, we get our first indication that he might not be the brightest tool in the shed, just from his sign. Wells quality merchandise?
Ha! Not a bad sort.
As it turns out, Norbert has been having some trouble with burglars, and he needs us to stop it. He's convinced that they must be using teleportation magic as they keep breaking in no matter what he does. And there's no possible way they could be getting in from some other normal way. But as it turns out, they all have keys and are just unlocking the door and walking in. Also, Norbert must really be a deep sleeper because he lives here, and he has never caught them. Interestingly though, there's also a second bed, but nobody else is assigned to live at the store, suggesting it's probably one of the men you killed, which is backed up by the fact that there's a potion of invisibility by the bed. My original assumption when I first played this was that Norbert Wells must have wronged them somehow because of this piece of dialogue.
I can't imagine what turned them to a life of crime.
But as it turns out, he's just the kind of guy who assumes the best in everyone, which is also indicated by this dialogue where he says he completely trusts you, as well as the fact that you can steal every single thing in his store and he will never assume it was you.
Seeing you just makes me feel safer.
Yeah, about that. This also would suggest that the mistake on his sign isn't because he was illiterate, but rather whoever he entrusted to make it was.
A slight mistake, you know. Bit of bad luck there.
So really, Norbert is only dumb in the sense that he's far too nice to learn that people in the world suck and will ruin your life if you let them, and that it's better to trust no one and keep your true feelings close to your heart so as to prevent anyone from taking advantage of you.
I feel sorry for Norbert Wells. He's a good man, but he gets taken in so easily.
On the onset, Goen seems like your typical pea-brained husband, ready to throw caution to the wind and abandon his loving wife the moment any woman shows a bit of ankle.
I'm merely a man, how could I resist?
Unfortunately, he didn't just betray his wife's trust, but also lost her family heirloom, and she is desperate to get it back. And fortunately for us, it's incredibly easy to get the attention of these ladies, who don't really seem interested with learning anything about their new mark before telling us exactly where they'll be that night. So I guess we have quite a few dummies in this quest. Now anybody who's already done this quest is probably thinking Goen isn't as dumb as he appears. After all, it turns out both he and his wife are actually undercover cops who've been trying to bust this gang for months and was only pretending to be stupid. Oh, thank goodness. I guess we don't need to put him on this list after all.
Do me a favor. Don't say anything to the other guards that I fell for it, okay? Thanks.
I'm sorry, what? So you were actually tricked? You stupid. It turns out Goen did actually fall for it. He's supposed to explain how it all happened to you, but instead his quest finish dialogue takes priority. And the voice file doesn't actually exist in the game anymore. This whole quest was heavily gutted, so it's not surprising. The full details is Goen was undercover trying to arrest the gang, but he also thought he could get laid in the process, which is why Goen doesn't stop them the first time, as well as why the ring he had was a fake. In other words, this guy knew full well it was a scam and fell for it anyway. That's top tier stupidity.
You men are all alike.
Daedric Prince doesn't seem like a good candidate for being the dumbest character in an Elder Scrolls game, and yet Mehrunes Dagon's stupidity cannot be overlooked. This dude's been trying to take over Tamriel since its conception, and every time he's been thwarted by the most unlikely of heroes. Just some guy, many of whom stopped him by just using his name. Talk about embarrassing. And of course, we should probably mention Dagon's poor judgment and allies. After all, in Battlespire, he was betrayed by literally everybody. And most likely also betrayed by Mankar Cameron. I mean, come on, have you never thought it was strange that Dagon doesn't appear until after Cameron's death? Anyway, Dagon is a bit of a brutish dullerhead, whose plan of taking over Tamriel always revolves around just smash stuff and eventually eventually I'll win. With the smartest plans always coming from somebody else like Yeager Tharn or Mankar Cameron. Despite his obsession with conquering Tamriel though, his own plane of oblivion, the Deadlands, looks like shit. Maybe that's actually why he wants Tamriel so bad. There is, however, one thing that stands out, suggesting there might be some intelligence to the beast after all. The Mysterium Xarxes, a book supposedly written by Mehrunes Dagon, and was used by Mankar Cameron to build his paradise. But then again, what little has been translated from the book seems to suggest it's more of Dagon's to-do list than anything really intelligent. So I guess it does prove he's a moron.
So saith Lord Dagon, praise be.
The pursuits of love can be a difficult and arduous journey, especially when the person you're after is severely introverted with debilitating social anxiety, and you're an obnoxious, dumb extrovert who can't possibly comprehend not wanting to interact with people at every moment of your life. No offense, extroverts. Well, a little offense. Veron Vamori is madly in love with one of his mage peers, Ardaline, and spends every day trying to win her affection. But for some reason, she's just not interacting with him at all. Now, even though this is because Ardaline is terrified of human interaction, it's probably also a good thing because Veron sucks.
I was trying to tell her how I feel, again, and she wouldn't even stop to talk to me. I just got so angry.
Rather than taking this in stride or trying to speak with anybody else to try and understand Ardaline a bit better, he decides the best solution is to steal her wizard staff.
Some ridiculous male thing, I suppose.
But to add insult to injury, he had no idea what to do with it now that he had it, so instead of apologizing or, I don't know, seeking therapy, instead he sold it. What?
Well, this just keeps getting worse.
But as it turns out, this moronic behavior wouldn't come as a surprise to any of the other residents of Breville, as they have also noticed how much of a creepy slimeball Vamori is.
He's a very clever man. Something not quite trustworthy about him, though.
I suppose it just means that incels exist even in the Elder Scrolls universe. Delightful.
Wet, wounded, and wild.
Now look, I like to do the unexpected. Showcase the characters you didn't think of, like Mehrunes Dagon. No one would see that one coming, even though he absolutely deserves to be on this list because he's an idiot. But in all video game history, there just aren't many who screw up as badly as Joffrey. Joffrey had one job. Well, actually two jobs. The first was make sure nobody kills the Emperor, who happened to have died while Joffrey was kicking it back at his beach house outside Coral. But his next job was to make sure nobody stole the goddamn Amulet of Kings. So, with such an important object, what does Joffrey do? Does he keep it with him so he can always know it's safe? No. He puts it in a box behind an obvious secret wall in his bedroom. Now, sure, Joffrey didn't know what the Amulet of Kings actually does, but even Boris knew that it's something you don't want to lose. But I'm not the only one who thinks Joffrey sucks. Just listen to what the other Blades have to say, straight to his own face.
I can't stop thinking about the Emperor. We failed. We failed because we got complacent. We got arrogant. Now the Empire's paying the price. Yes. Yes, I see your point. And the others feel the same way? Well, you know how it is. There are whispers in the halls of Cloud Ruler as in any other place. But it matters not. The Blades stand united.
Oof, man, that's rough. Not to mention, if Joffrey dies during the Battle of Bruma, not a single Blade has anything to say about it. Clearly, they aren't particularly heartbroken over the loss of such a doofus. I've been feeling pretty nostalgic for Oblivion lately, something I really didn't think was ever going to happen again. But if you're feeling nostalgic for Oblivion, I have a ridiculous back catalog of all kinds of dumb NPCs and stupid quests you can watch. I'll see you there. Goodbye.
Go away, fool.
Oh, if that's the way you feel.